Hello and welcome to New or Newish to an Autism Diagnosis. I invite you to get something to write with that you will keep because you may experience some aha moments and things you want to remember. I am a certified parent coach, autism specific paraeducator, group leader for the Autism Society of Boulder County, consulting partner with the Neurodiversity Center in Lafayette, Colorado, parent consultant at the Temple Grandin School in Boulder, Colorado, and parent of two thriving neurodivergent teens. The knowledge you gain in this session will qualify you to join the monthly workshop with other neuro-affirming parents and caregivers. The following information is intended to educate, support, and ease your worry while raising your child. Consider it self-care. Please encourage anyone interested in your child to view this presentation. I also encourage your support people to view it, your friends, family, even your therapist. Their viewing will save you numerous repetitive explanations and hopefully enable them to best support you. I invite you to save your energy for yourself, your parenting partner, and child. Let me do the legwork of communicating autism. So, why is terminology important? Well, this is a fairly academic statement, so just bear with me. We'll get through it. What people say or write produces specific versions of the world, oneself, and others, and language conveys, shapes, and perpetuates ideology. Language choices are also reflective of power structures and mirror dominant narratives and ideologies about social phenomena. So, what does that really mean? It means you may not even realize your own internal reaction to the words you hear and the words you use and the influence they have on your perspective of your world. Consider these statements. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? Is it partly sunny or is it partly cloudy out? Life is full of problems or life is full of opportunities to grow. Oh, we're off track and lost? Or is it an adventure in a new place? When we let go of control, recognize our own bias, and use curiosity, life gets easier. Now, I am not implying that you put blinders on and pretend that everything is great, but rather look for strengths and find ways to accommodate or change the environment in which the person is functioning. If a person needs movement to listen, then it's a reasonable accommodation to have a wiggle chair, a movement break, a standing desk, or to pace around so they can actually pay attention better. You can use strength-based language, like someone is creative versus just out of touch with reality, energetic versus annoying and hyperactive, an accommodation versus a crutch, or self-directed learning versus off-task, highly sensitive, highly sensing versus oversensitive. An unaccommodated environment or activity often leads to deficit versus strength perspectives. We'll get to school difficulties in another webinar. In section 1, New or Newish to Autism, I invited you to say out loud, "My child is autistic." Today I invite you to take it a step further and say the name of your child. Mark is autistic or Susie is autistic. Now please, I invite you, when you see this little icon, that's your cue to jot down something important. I'd like you to take a moment and just reflect on the emotions that come up for you when you say, Susie is autistic. What happens inside of you? Where do you feel it? And what emotions are coming to the surface that were either expected or maybe a little unexpected? In I did a little poll of various parent groups and asked parents how they felt when they first received their diagnosis, and I thought you'd like to know. Part of me was relieved because my hunch was confirmed and I wasn't overreacting, but I then felt overwhelm and fear. I didn't feel anything due to already knowing. I'm still sad and honestly mad at times. I was just ready to hear it from someone else so that we could move forward. My son was the same boy he was before autism was confirmed. Then I had the information I needed just to help my boy. I cried. I was at work as a delivery driver. My wife called me at work. I still know exactly where I was when she called. Denial. I couldn't handle it. My wife just dealt. Terminology. And since this is the basics of terminology, we're going to start with ableism. A is for ableism. It is comprised of beliefs and practices that devalue and discriminate against people with physical, intellectual, or psychiatric disabilities, and often rests on the assumption that disabled people need to be fixed in one form or another. I didn't realize that I had a mild ableist bias until really learning what the word meant, looking into myself, and I worked to learn about the community that was new to me. I wasn't a bad person, I just needed to learn more. Terminology. There are a lot of terms. We're going to start with neuroaffirming. When a person, or say a therapy practice, intentionally recognizes and appreciates different ways of thinking and processing sensory information. A neuroaffirming person sees the nervous system in terms which include the brain as having natural variations and differences. Neuroaffirming means including, accommodating, and respecting individuals whose nervous systems function, remember to include the brain, their function is different. Notice the absence of judgment. Neither one is good or bad. They're just different. An organization called Spice Spotlight out of Scotland made this handy bell curve to help explain neurodiversity. You can think of a neurodivergent person as someone who does not fit into the masses of people and their neurological function, what's considered neurotypical. Neurodivergence is a concept. It's the difference in neurological function from the 80% of what's considered neurotypical, so the masses. To be neuroaffirming means to see that variability as differences, not just deficits. Many feel that neurodiversity is something that should be affirmed and celebrated rather than treated or cured. What do you think? What brings you to your opinion? How do your cultural norms change or influence your opinion on neurodivergence? Neurotypical would be a nervous system falling within the 80% in the middle of the bell curve. So basically the gray line area. Neurodivergent would be the gold lines on either side. Neurodiversity is a concept, a natural variation in nervous systems, their functions. Think of natural variations or differences in skin color, stature, voices, abilities, but apply those to nervous systems. People whose neurological functions lie within the usual range in the gray area are considered neurotypical. The majority of people, the typical, while those whose neurological functions fall outside the range are labeled neurodivergent. You can think of someone who's neurodivergent as someone who has a nervous system that processes information differently. Here's another great graphic from the Department of Psychology, the University of British Columbia. It's the same information, just with a little different visual spin on it. So, with this graphic in mind, consider societal institutions are structures within society, such as police stations, schools, businesses, that provide order and stability. The institutions themselves generally do not depend on one person. So, if a societal institution is created by the masses to meet the needs of the masses, the normative, how are neurodivergent people fitting in? This is called marginalization. Now, we can ask neurodivergent people to do what's called masking, which has serious mental health impacts, or we can restructure some of our institutions and create accommodations. I borrowed this beautiful infographic from Glenn Masterman to help explain the difference between neurodivergent and neurodiverse. I won't go through the entire infographic, but as you can see, neurodivergent is singular, a person whose neurological functions do not fit 80% of the bell curve. Neurodiverse is a group of people with different kinds of neurology, including neurotypical. So it would be the gray section of the bell curve and the gold section together. A single person can have multiple forms of neurodivergence. Autism is simply one form, giftedness is another, and ADHD is yet another. Neurodivergent people, and you just learned a lot of different formats, can also be ableist. It's not a conscious choice. Internalized or subconscious ableism can cause resistance to accommodations, lower one's self esteem, and result in masking. More on the dangers of masking will be covered in a future workshop. I invite you to please visit the website next to on the right side of this screen for more about internalized ableism. It can look like a child or adolescent or an adult resisting their diagnosis or accommodations. Here's another little something to think about. Research highlights discrepancies in the language used by healthcare professionals and that which is preferred by autistic adults and other members of the autism community, like family members and friends, particularly surrounding identity first versus person first language. Whereas autistic adults in the United Kingdom endorsed autistic and autistic person in greater numbers than person with autism, professionals endorsed person with autism in greater numbers than autistic or autistic person. Parents were also much less likely to endorse autistic person than were autistic participants. So, why do you think the data revealed that parents and medical professionals were more resistant to use identity first language, which is the preference of autistic adults in reference to their children? When I first heard the terms neurodiversity and neuroaffirming, it helped me to think about topics I already understood and was familiar with. Things like diversity in skin color, diversity in gender, stature, even organ function. And when we think about the diversity in skin color and the accommodation or acceptance, whether it's current day or historic, say, we can all drink out of the same water fountain, or we all have equal rights as human beings, to it's okay to wear sunscreen. That's an accommodation so that we are all valued as human beings. We can think of gender. Before women had the right to vote. Um, we can think of stature. Some people need specialized clothing. That's an accommodation. Organ function. People wear glasses. People use sign language. Athletic ability. Some people are spectacular athletes.
Some people play rec league. Some people play competitive. Physical ability. Some people need ramps and designated parking spaces. All of these accommodations and appreciations help us to live our best lives.
If you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now with all the terms and wondering how to affirm your child's identity, it's okay. It'll take some time. I invite you to push pause and just take a minute and really look at these diagrams and think about what they mean to you and your child. On the next slide, I jotted down a couple questions for you to document the answers to so that your future self can reflect on how much you will grow and have grown as the years pass. How does it feel to say my child is neurodivergent or autistic now versus in the beginning of this presentation? What feelings do you want to feel? What needs to change in my word choice or thoughts to recognize and convey my child's strengths? Is school or childcare neuroaffirming? How can I find out? Which of my own biases and neurodivergence are coming to my attention? Feel free to take a minute or 20 and brainstorm your answers, but just give it some thought. We've talked about why terms are important. We've learned the terms ableism, neurodivergent, neurodiversity, neurodiverse, neurotypical, and marginalization. We've also had several thought-provoking questions. I hope you've enjoyed our presentation so far. I'd also invite you to contact me if you'd like to explore the questions on the previous slide or anything else about the terminology in this presentation. Please send me an email. I'm honored that you joined me here today, and I hope you feel proud of the time that you've dedicated to learning about your child and your own self. If you'd like to continue with Unexpected Journey Parent Coaching, I'm available for private coaching, group workshops, personalized goal-focused conferences, and free local social support groups. I look forward to hearing from you.